Welcome to Down Home Horror, where we keep the highlights on for you. I'm Amber,
I'm Alex.
and today we are back for another Shudder Sunday. As always, our Shudder Sundays feature Shudder original and exclusive movies with no spoilers whatsoever because we want to convince you to watch them yourself. Today we are talking about my pick, Vicious Fun, which to nobody's surprise would be my pick based on everything about it.
For those who are just listening, enthusiastic nodding from my end.
Vicious Fun is a Shudder original that came out in 2020, and I have a little synopsis pulled up here from Shudder, and it says Joel, a caustic 1980s film critic for a national horror magazine, finds himself unwittingly trapped in a self-help group for serial killers. With no other choice, Joel attempts to blend in with his homicidal surroundings or risk becoming the next victim.
Boom, boom, boom.
First things first, I feel
Yes.
like that synopsis is slightly misleading.
It's like what happened last time, right? Where is it accurate? Yes. Also, not at all.
No. So I don't even know where to start with this because I have so many but also so little things to say at the same time. I guess I'm gonna start with the title card. And I want to start there, not just because it's at the beginning of the movie, but also
What?
because that was the first check mark on my This Is an Amber movie. The super neon, like synthwave title card, 80s slasher type shit. I was like, oh, like I'm falling into my own cliche at this point.
My first note, because I saw it all, I went, yes, this is an Amber movie. And then I wanted to ask, like, what is it specifically about 80s vibes? Like, first off, thanks Stranger Things for like bringing that to the
Right?
forefront, or right for horror, the subgenres thereof horror. But like watching it, what is it specifically? Is it just the love for like the slashers that were in the 80s? Is it the pretty colors? I don't know.
Honestly, I do be liking me some pretty colors. So that for me might be part of it.
Mhm.
And I literally made a checklist on here that said 80s and synthwave, check. Neon title
Yep.
card, check.
Check.
Stabbing, check. There's a chainsaw in here, check. I make fun of movies, check. Like the boxes were all checked. I will say though, as far as why I say the synopsis is misleading is because I think I was expecting pretty much the entirety of the film to be Joel trying to fit in with this group of serial killers and convince them that he's one of them, and that's not at all what happens. Obviously,
No.
that's part of it, but then it goes further into a storyline that kind of lost me, I'm not gonna lie. Not because I didn't understand it, because I was just like, oh, I liked it better when when we were in this support group.
Kind of like a canned episode, right? Where if you
Yeah,
had just stayed in one location.
yeah.
I'm with you. At one point, I found myself getting a little bored, but I didn't feel like that was fair either because it's not a bad movie.
Mm-mm.
It's a very it's horror comedy light, right?
Yeah,
I wouldn't consider it on the spectrum of like Tucker and Dale, right? Where like everything's a joke,
right.
but also it's clearly meant to be funny
Yeah.
more often than not. And I think the jokes land, but there was definitely a part of it I agree where I thought it was going to be about blending in with the group, having more of the meeting, and it just isn't.
Yeah. And I think for me, that being the plot that I feel like should have been stretched through more of the movie, I was kind of hoping for more time spent with Joel and this group and him using his critiques of bad horror films to basically use all of the horror tropes that he knows and that he's familiar with to try to convince them that he's a serial killer also, like what all of the things that he would use to make a good horror film to convince them that he's one of them. That's what I was wanting from the whole movie, because that whole part is just so good, but it's so short-lived, and then the rest of
Mm-hmm.
it is just a completely, not a completely different story, but it kind of like I said, in simple terms, it kind of lost me. There were some good parts in all of the rest of it. I really like the dynamic between one of the cops and Joel. They are so fucking funny. The way they banter. I learned
Yes.
something from this movie that you don't insult a man's mustache.
You
I
don't insult a man's mustache. You don't do it.
I lost my shit at that part. I was laughing so hard. Bob is another really good, I think, honestly, eh, shitty character. Not because he's written shittily, but like his characteristic is supposed to be shitty.
Mhm.
But damn, does that actor do an amazing job at capturing that character. Bob, 1,000% was an absolute standout throughout the whole movie for me. I wanted more of him on the screen also, regardless of how badly I hated his character. Because he's just pompous and a douchebag.
And a lot of physical comedy that he lands
Yeah.
really well. There's a point where like he plays a jukebox, right? And just like the slightest hit pop and like little bounce to it. And it's so it's not big acting, but
No,
it's very choice. It's very good.
it's
I feel like that encompasses the character a lot of it's supposed to be this character is supposed to be grandiose, but also he plays it small in the right ways.
yes, he's very good. I think the actor's name is Ari Millen.
Mm.
Can I see more things with him in them, please? Like where he plays kind of a similar-ish character. It's so good. It just I love him. Like I hate him and I love him. I love to hate him and I hate to love him.
His character motif was clearly Ryan Gosling's character in Driver, which I've never seen that movie, but like I've seen that look before. I've seen that look before, and I had to give it a Google. I'm like, no, it's almost identical. The
Yeah.
jacket, the gloves, everything. Joel being Marty McFly with the vest and the different layers and stuff. Those were at least the two big costume Easter eggs that I saw.
As we've talked about before, particularly in Scare Package, I'm
Mhm.
not a huge fan of over the top horror comedies. Like, there has to be a certain formula to that itself to get me to like them. I still haven't quite figured out how to put what that formula is into words, but it's in
Sure.
here and I know it. And this one didn't do it for me. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was almost a little too cheesy in certain aspects. Not throughout the whole thing though, which is why I couldn't decide whether or not I actually liked it. I think I've landed on that I did really enjoy it, and it was just it was a good time. It was cheesy, and I think the title is fitting because it's vicious fun, man. Like it's
Yeah.
fun. It's a fun movie, and I'll give it that.
So we say stuff like this is such an Amber movie. My very last note on this is like this is so Amber, and I love that because I think what it most showcases is a joy in horror,
Yeah,
right? Cheesy or otherwise, there's clearly an appreciation for the genre, and there's an appreciation for the storytelling, for a little poking fun at the fans too, of the oh yeah, sure, slow walking, lazy writing, and like how easy it is from an audience perspective to critique a
hmm
horror film, right? For better or worse, could be accurate, could just be being picky.
right.
But all that to say, going back to my original point, the joy in horror, I think that's what defines an Amber movie, is that there's clearly joy in what isn't in the movie. And I like that those are the movies you recommend. Like
I
there's
like
something
that.
there that sparks. It sparks joy.
Yeah.
I have one thing that I think I can talk about this movie that isn't like a spoiler for plot or anything, and it's that I did not like Carrie, the female lead. Now, I don't think that's because I dislike the actress or her acting. I think it was the writing I was having a really hard time with. It's because, in general, I really don't like female power leads that are a male power fantasy.
Right. No, I get that.
Like, and
I
everything
agree.
about her was like, I maybe I should confirm that a masculine perspective wrote this. It feels that way though. And I don't it reminded me a lot. Did you ever watch Future Man on Hulu?
Mm-mm.
It's not a horror thing. So I'm not
Mm-mm.
sure why I'm mentioning it other than the female lead in that was very similar. It's like if you had put a man or a woman in that position, right? It would play the same because it's not different than your typical male action hero. And I think putting Joel in that position of being the damsel in distress, I don't know. I'm just a little tired of it. I'm tired of that dynamic. I also think this like power, I'm a badass woman and I know more than you. I don't like it, which is why I'm being really nitpicky. But I think what I'm trying to say here is that it is the manic pixie dream girl of action movies. That same cliche is in action movies with these kind of female leads. I think it's this weird fantasy woman that
Right.
I don't foresee myself in. I don't. I very rarely do.
Right. No, same. Do I like to see badass female characters? Absolutely. Of course.
Course.
But sometimes there's just like a weird way of writing them that I don't really enjoy. And I think you kind of put that better into words than I could right now. There was one more thing. It's really not
Yes,
important, but am I going to
that's
include
very
it
important.
anyway? Duh.
Yes.
The cop, Tony, the one that was like eating the Chinese food and reading the magazine, he's my second favorite character by far. And tell me why he's the only one in the whole movie that actually sounds like he's from Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the cop scene was the most Minnesotan part. I remember going there and going, "Is this set in Minnesota?" Like, I had no idea until we saw all the cops. And
Yeah.
I will say I thought that all the cops were being played by the same actor for a moment. For a moment, I thought
That's
they were. And I
actually
thought that was
really
going to
funny.
be a good bit, but it wasn't. They're just different enough.
Yeah.
Uh,
There was like that whole scene where Tony was like, he's a film journalist. And the cops were like, what? And he goes off on this fucking spiel of what it means to be a film critic and a film journalist. And I was like, I like
go do a
Tony.
contact sport. Yeah, man, go do a contact sport. Shit was funny. It was, yeah, like there's some good jokes. I just think it was a little too long.
Mhm.
I'm realizing I really like the hour and a half horror movie. If you push it too close to 2 hours, it starts to drag. There's that something about those 20 minutes that could be cut out.
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
I think that's some of it. That this movie had just a little bit too draggy at times. And the event to showcase all the serial killers. I don't think that was necessary.
Yeah, no.
Well, I'm glad that we kind of agree that as far as this movie goes, it was enjoyable, kind of drug in the middle, wasn't quite what we anticipated, but on the whole, enjoyable. Would recommend,
Yes.
right? That being said, time to look forward to next Shudder Sunday, and this time, it's my pick. And we're still on the Alex Loves Ghost Movies bandwagon. So we're doing it. And it's not my fault. I have a whole list of stuff we'll get to eventually, but this one just came out a week or two ago. And I saw the trailer up on the front page of the Shudder website, which is actually really intuitive to use. We'll get back to Shudder soon, I promise. But I saw the trailer. I went, well, shit, we're gonna be watching it. So here it's Brooklyn 45, and the description reads as such. Friday, December 27th, 1945. 5 military veterans gather in the ornate parlor of a Brooklyn brownstone. Best friends since childhood, they've reunited to support their troubled host. But when his invitation for cocktails turns into an impromptu seance, the metaphoric ghosts of their past become all too literal. Trapped in their host's lounge, the greatest generation now finds themselves put to one final test, with their only route to freedom being more bloodshed. It looks like the trailer has it being a really bright horror film, where it seems pretty canned, like it's going to take place mostly in the apartment. I don't think they're going to be doing a lot of movement. But when I first saw it, I was like, this is like a Wes Anderson. Not that it's bright and yellow, it just has so much brightness to it that it really stuck out to me. So it's not just that it's ghosts. It's mostly that it's ghosts. But the cinematography looks really good. So there's that. And then we'll get to something. We'll pull an Amber next time and do something outside my comfort zone, I guess. That's not how you sound. That's how I sound. Uh,
No, that's how I sounded last night when I was like, I have to pick something that doesn't look like I would pick it.
but that's what we get to look forward to. And hey, if you want to check it out before we talk about it, go ahead, go to Shudder. If you're not already a member, sign up. There's a 7-day free trial. Do they sponsor us? No, but we believe in them enough that we think that they should get all the people to view it. And that way, if you watch it ahead of time, when you watch our stuff, A, you'll know what we're talking about. B, you could put something in the comments like, I really love Vicious Fun, or I really love Brooklyn 45 for these reasons. We want to hear from you. We do. The us keeping it spoiler free for people who have not seen it, and it's a nice little bite-sized episode, right? Gives you a tease of what's out there. Let's go to the sign up. go do the thing, and then come back and report back to us. Maybe even some suggestions. I don't think we're opposed to hearing Shudder original
No,
suggestions.
definitely not. Because I feel like you guys have a good idea that at this point, we're both cliches.
Yeah,
So if you're like, hey, maybe shut up and watch a ghost movie, Amber, or an alien movie, probably not, but I'll do it if I have to. And you tell Alex to shut the door on the haunted houses. No more.
just do it. Take it out of my cold dead hands. I would gladly set
Same.
aside a seance just one time for suggestions.
And I guess I'll put the chainsaw away.
Only this time.
Yes.
But otherwise, if you made it this far, be sure to put something in the comments and be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss out on anything because we got a really cool project kicking off real soon. Amber?
If you've watched any of our other videos or follow us on the social medias, we've been talking for what feels like 10 years about an Evil Dead project that we're working on, and it is finally happening. Unfortunately, submissions for the project did close today. However, that's okay because we're hoping to do more of these with different franchises in the future, but bringing it back to the now. So I got this. So on August, we will start premiering our 3-part Evil Dead franchise deep dive series. We're going to be covering anything and everything that has to do with the wonderful Evil Dead franchise, and we're super excited about it, so make sure you're around for that because it's going to be fucking groovy.
If you want to know also the Happen Haps, you can find us at Down Home Horror on Twitter. That you can also join our Discord. It's nice hearing from folks about like what they do and don't like about certain popular franchises. So it's a good vibe. Come on down. There's gonna be movie nights. There's gonna be gaming times. It's a good group to hang out with. So be sure to join our
Yes.
Discord as well. Otherwise, I guess if we need someone to fill in Phil's spot in serial killer support group, where can we find you, Amber?
You can find me on Twitter at Amber Blitz and on Letterboxd also at Amber Blitz. And I will also be returning to streaming in the next couple weeks, which I am super excited about. It has been 9 months, which is 9 months too long since I've last streamed. I will predominantly be streaming Dead by Daylight, but I'm a horror fan, so of course I'm going to be throwing a bunch of other horror games in there.
You can find me on Twitter at Roll for Alex, where I do a lot of actual play, do tabletop role playing stuff. So if that's your thing, be sure to follow me on the Twitter sphere because that's where I tend to announce my next postings.
It's really cool, by the way. You guys should totally check it out. Thanks.
Amber got to see my Magical Girl a game, and it's really sad. And I had a great cast, so I had a really good time for Pride Month running that one shot. Otherwise, you can also find me sometimes on Twitch at Roll for Alex with the 3 instead of an E. Don't worry about it. Don't ask me any questions. Don't look at it. We're not addressing it. If you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. I do a spattering of things. I try to do horror games most of the time, but it really depends on my energy levels. And lately, those have been low. But we're gonna get back to it, I promise, at some point. Just be sure to follow, hit the bell there too, so you can get all those sweet, sweet notifications. Until next time, be sure to check under your bed for monsters because I can't.
And I won't.
Bye.
Bye.